So one thing I want you to take away from this whole video series is that there is an enormous amount of power all around us in ordinary people. And what we're asking our formal representatives to do or the government to do for us is important, but it is a tiny sliver of what we can do. So I really encourage people to think more broadly and creatively because you will find people who don't engage in our usual ways, but who will engage in other things. And once they're engaged, can be asked to do more. And the good news is it doesn't actually take all that many people. Scholars of nonviolent resistance to authoritarian movements put it at about 3.5% of the population being actively and purposefully engaged to be able to replace authoritarian regimes with democratic ones. The other key piece is that successful movements activate a wide range of unusual allies. It's when people who aren't normally in coalition with us join that people really sit up and take notice. So to get to all these people, though, we have to attend to this second piece. We just talked about the first one in the last video. Now we're talking about the second one, which is why would someone want to work with us? And think about it. Are you busy? Do you have a list of things you'd like to get around to that you just don't seem to get around to? I certainly do. And everyone else is in the same boat. If you want people to get around to doing things, you can't just tell them, oh, you should do this thing to be nice to other people. I mean, that'll work if someone is totally not stressed, has tons of time on their hands, and is just looking for a way to be involved in community. But any amount of stress or busyness, any tinge of survival brain, and is not going to get high enough on their priority list to be done well. You have to find a burning need that they already have, something they're yearning for, something that when you show up and you say, hey, if you do this thing, it will get you this, people want to clear their schedules and make the time. And this is how I spin up multiple committees. I have people who are sort of like, oh, don't really get around to things. And then like this new committee forms and they're like, I am on this. And all of a sudden, I've got more volunteers. So you cannot choose, though, what this thing is that people are yearning for. You can only listen carefully and pay attention. And you cannot, let me emphasize, you cannot motivate people deeply enough with any variation of, you should care about this, or you're a bad person if you don't care about. Drop the shoulds. You have to meet people where they're at. And so one of the key principles in organizing is to organize based on what's called self-interest. And so there's three sort of related words here that we want to really parse out. And self-interest here, this is something that I'm getting from where I first encountered in Gamaliel organizing training. And self-interest is used in a very specific way. So, if you just Google self-interest, people come up with all sorts of different definitions. But for our purposes, it's really used in contrast with selflessness and selfishness. So selflessness is all for someone else's benefit. No benefit for me, except that I feel morally pure and like a good person. Selfishness is all for me, no concern for others. And self-interest is looking at how can we both benefit. And what we really want to do is we really want to avoid doing things that are purely selfless. It leads to burnout and resentment, not getting around to it, or paternalism. And this one is actually a really important thing to think about, which is that it's really condescending to go to someone and be like, oh, you have needs, but I'm too good to have needs. I don't have needs. It's something that doesn't really show respect for the relationship or for the idea that people who are not me have something of value to contribute that I respect them for. It's also very hard to motivate people to do things for purely selfless reasons. At the same time, we don't want to be purely selfish because A, that generally doesn't get us the connection and community that are deeply human needs that we search for. And B, other people generally are not willing to join us for things that only benefit us. And C, we also can do significant harm by not caring about the impact of our actions on others. What we're looking for is that mutual self-interest, where we are clear on what we want for ourselves, other people are clear on what they want for themselves, and we work together to ensure that everyone gets what they need, the good old win-win situations. And what those needs are can vary enormously. Some of them are very obvious and concrete and practical, like housing, food, not being kidnapped. But they can also be relational. being valued and connected, not being lonely. People can and do, make major sacrifices in order to have those relational needs met. And similarly, sense of meaning and purpose, connection to something larger than oneself. Those are all very valid needs that can be met through organizing. And sometimes things are utterly mundane. I mean, I'm an introvert by nature. My twins are 3 years old right now. If there's a weekend and I'm soloing the kids and someone says, "Hey, there's this event, you ought to come," I'm going to be like, "Ooh, okay." But if they say, "And there's childcare and we'll give you a break," I am there. Okay. Um, that's speaking to my needs, not just the shoulds. And so, whatever it is, you found it when people perk up and you suggest it to them, and they're like grateful that you asked. That's how you really know that you spotted that thing. So, for an exercise here, um, what you're going to do, and again, this works best if you're brainstorming with a group, pick an issue and come up with examples of motivations for taking action around that issue that are purely selfless, purely selfish, or mutual self-interest. So just to go back to the example, for example, of people being disappeared, a purely selfless example would be, I feel bad for those people being harmed and I want to save them. Or a purely selfish motivation would be, I don't want to get snatched, but I don't care if other people are. Whereas the mutual self-interest would be, I don't want to be snatched. And I recognize that stopping the government from snatching other people is what will keep me safe as well. So it's sort of those things of understanding our interconnectedness and our mutual relationship that there are a lot of, famous phrases about, making sure that we are all free, that are sort of tapping into this as well. So yeah, give you a chance to do that exercise and then see you in the last video.